This is The Sports Life.
They've done it again! They have done it again! For the second year in a row, the Northwestern Wildcats have defeated the #1 team in the country.
Snap McCord hands to Trainum straight in the end zone. Touchdown, Chip Trainum. For the second straight week,
Bogey!
The converted linebacker finds the end zone, and that'll win it for Ohio State.
And welcome into the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. A salute to 2023, a great moment described by Dave Bennett as the Wildcats and Northwestern upset Purdue, as he said, the #1 team in America for the second straight year, which was totally crazy. And Ohio State goes to South Bend, and at the end of the game, they win it. Description by Mr. Paul Keels. And so we have an interesting show lined up for you, and one of the things we're going to do, a lot of times we don't talk in glowing terms about officials, right? That just isn't part of the deal. But Terry Wymer is special. He's one of the greatest officials of all time. And our cover stories about him, and I think people will really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think they absolutely will. And you know what else is in this show? Matter of fact, you and I, Will, we sat in a room, we were talking about topics to bring up for the show, and we're like, well, it's 2025. Other years end with 1995. It's been 30 years since Northwestern had that Rose Bowl season, and we decided we're going to have some fun celebrating the 30-year anniversary of the Northwestern Wildcats. And also, we're going to be taking a look at sports multimedia and how it continues to change with TV, the partnerships that are afoot with NFL, ESPN, everything taking place. Eben Novy-Williams of Sportico will join us to break it all down and make sense of what's what later on.
Before we get into our total salute of 2023, we've got to go back to that win where Ohio State came roaring back in South Bend to beat Notre Dame. Well, after the game, Buckeye head coach Ryan Day went off on Lou Holtz.
Toughness, that's it. Physicality, across the board, finish it off, having guts. You know, like I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
Yeah.
Do not question Ohio State's toughness.
Lou Holtz, 86 years old at that time.
That's the best part.
It was pretty unbelievable. Well, at the end of the day, the Buckeyes did win it.
And who would have thought 1 year later they would match in the national title game? The 24 season ends with those two playing for the national championship, and of course Ohio State got the win yet again. In Big Ten football, you talk about intense moments and rivalries and whatnot. There was a pretty intense moment and even a controversial ending between Iowa and Minnesota. The reason it was controversial, was it a fair catch call? Or was it not? When Cooper DeJean decided to return the punt for the Iowa Hawkeyes, scored a touchdown, but had it called back, that would lead ultimately to Minnesota's win. And ultimately, that meant the Floyd of Rosedale went to the Minnesota Gophers. So here's what the play sounded like on Iowa's radio network with play-by-play voice Gary Dolphin.
Punting from his own 2. Crawford steps into it, gets it away. It's a high hanger. Cooper DeJean says get away from it. Now he grabs it at his own 45, gets away from a couple tacklers, and he's down the sideline. Now he cuts it to the middle of the field. He's got one man to beat. He's going to go to the end zone. No flags. Touchdown, Iowa. Touchdown, Iowa. Cooper DeJean was waving for everybody to get away from the ball, and it got to the Minnesota sideline, and he grabbed it and thought maybe I get another 5 yards. I think Minnesota was stunned, and the coop just flew the coop.
That is the most amazing play I can remember seeing.
I was fearful he might have stepped out of bounds, but no flags. Touchdown, Cooper DeJean. Unbelievable with 1:21 to go, and Iowa takes the lead 16-12.
All right, we must be going to have a review here.
The ruling of touchdown is under further review.
Can we get rid of the review?
Oh, look at this. They're all coming back. They're going to take this thing away from him.
After reviewing the play, the returner waved his left hand, which is an invalid fair catch signal.
Oh,
By
my.
rule, the ball became dead upon recovery. The ball be placed at the 46-yard line. Clock operator, please reset the game clock to 1 minute and 33 seconds. 1:33, please. Thank you.
The left hand is an invalid call and a fair catch.
They said that goes as a fair catch signal. I saw him wave his arm that
But he said
he was
it
telling his teammates, I thought, get away from the ball, get away from the ball. Oh, boy.
Well, you can't do that. You can't be waving that arm.
Yeah. Well, and that's where it gets really hairy, and I can understand the Hawkeye fan perspective of it, where they say, look, we often will communicate, punt returners will, saying, get away, just shoo away. They kind of make that motion. When does that become fair signal? When does it not? It does feel like a gray area.
Well, when you put it up over your shoulder, it becomes a fair catch.
And Iowa fans would argue it wasn't above the shoulder. I don't really know what's right, but nonetheless, it was a pretty controversial, tense moment. But how about that radio sequence where you can hear Gary Dolphin and the crew discover everything in real time? I mean, it really played out just like that.
Yep.
Well, since we're highlighting the 2023 into the 2024 season, let's turn that frown upside down for Iowa fans and celebrate Iowa women's basketball and the phenomena that was Caitlin Clark. During that season, she ended up becoming the NCAA's all-time leading scorer with this shot in the television broadcast called by Zora Stevenson that came against the Michigan Wolverines.
Here comes Clark. How will she go for history? There it is! The all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball.
One of the great things about Clark wasn't necessarily the total number of points, and you witnessed some of it, is the fact that she scored when they needed it. It wasn't she just scored. She made some huge baskets at the end of games that won games.
She just delivered on moments time and time again. And when you look at her career, and I keep kind of making these parallels now. Look, obviously there's a lot of work still to do to accomplish something like this. I'm not saying it's the exact same, but you know how throughout Michael Jordan's career, he just delivered moment after moment? That's what Caitlin Clark did, and I think that's really what transcended her and really elevated the game and sport of women's basketball altogether. But what an iconic shot that was. As a matter of fact, if you make your way over to Carver Hawkeye Arena, you'll see number 22 on the floor as a symbol right where she hit that shot you just heard from to always represent and honor her becoming the all-time leading scorer. Truly something incredible. Let's switch over to men's basketball because that 2023 season, when it tipped off, obviously it would end in 2024, saw the Purdue Boilermakers end up having one of the best seasons that they've ever seen there in West Lafayette. Of course, we started this broadcast and you got to hear at the top Northwestern upsetting number 1 Purdue there in 2023. Well, when the season came to an end, Purdue ended up in the Final Four for the first time since 1980. This is what it sounded like when the Purdue Boilermakers defeated Tennessee in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four with the voice of the Boilermakers, Rob Blackman.
72-66. Zach Edey has scored 40 points, a career high. He also has 16 rebounds. His second foul shot is no good. Left it short. Tennessee with a chance. 12 to go in the game. Now 11. Ziegler, a three from the deep left wing is short. Rebounded by Fletcher Lawyer. Tennessee will not foul. And wouldn't you know it, on Resurrection Sunday, the Purdue Boilermakers have turned the doubters into believers. Believe this, for the first time since 1980, Purdue is headed back to the Final Four.
We did it, baby. Final Four. Your Purdue Boilermakers, how sweet it is.
And it was sweet in West Lafayette. And I think, Dalton, one of the things that was most impressive, well, number one, getting to a Final Four is pretty impressive, right? It's hard to do that. But the other thing is, considering, like Rob said, there were doubters because of some of those early season upsets, for that team that was a complete shipwreck the year before to come back and do that, that's pretty impressive.
Well, and I was going to say, you mentioned shipwreck, and you're alluding, of course, to them losing in the first round to a 16 seed in Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean, we had only seen it one other time before, and it was Virginia losing to UMBC. The next year, they would win it all in 2019. And then Purdue loses in the first round, and the next year plays in the title game. They just ran into a buzzsaw of UConn, but kind of wild how that's worked out.
Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, we're going to really jump into a conversation that's pretty intriguing. What is happening to the coverage of sports as the media begins to merge itself together? Back with more in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor? Yes, I am.
Yay.
My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, in the wide world of sports, the media news has been pretty interesting. I think it was a little shocking to some to find out that ESPN would do something like buy the NFL Network, and that the NFL would own a piece of ESPN. And what about Fox Sports 1 and ESPN bundling their packaging for viewers? These are things we never thought would happen, most likely. And to help us sort this out, Eben Novy-Williams from Sportico is joining us. And Eben, thanks for being on the show again. And I guess let's start off this conversation by what for me was shocking to find out that ESPN would buy the NFL Network and that the NFL would own a piece of ESPN.
Yeah, it's you say deal. I think maybe the correct term technically is deals plural. There are basically two agreements here. In one, ESPN is acquiring NFL Network, NFL Red Zone, NFL Fantasy, essentially a big chunk of the NFL's owned media operation, in exchange for a 10% stake in ESPN. And then in the second deal is a commercial rights deal, essentially. And in addition to buying those things, the NFL is also going to license to ESPN live rights that used to be under the NFL Network umbrella, so live games, also NFL marks, NFL logos, assets, and things like that. So it's really two deals. I can get into why it's two deals in a second, because I do think that's interesting and fairly enlightening. But basically, the relationship between Disney, which owns ESPN, and the NFL just got a whole lot tighter, which is critical for Disney and probably a good thing for the NFL as well.
That's fascinating. I'm also curious the relationship of that media partner with ESPN. Look, ESPN has often tried to juggle the relationship of having partnerships with leagues and also having a journalistic arm. But when you talk about this type of percentage of an investment and stake between the two, if it's hard to fathom that there's going to be many investigative reports from ESPN on NFL stories. Do you feel that is that something to be aware of for consumers?
I think it's a great question, Dalton, and I think that it's certainly something that people need to pay attention to, right? I think the truth is that even before this deal, the NFL was by far Disney's most important sports partner. And that's true for all of the other NFL partners too. The NFL is the most popular, most powerful entertainment brand in America, bar none. And it is critical for Fox, it's critical for CBS, it's critical for NBC, it's also critical for ESPN. So in some ways, yes, the relationship is getting tighter, but the NFL was so important to ESPN before this deal that in some ways you're just making an absolutely critical thing slightly more critical. But I do think it's something to keep an eye on, and I would like to think that ESPN, given that they have had a version of this conflict built into its business for decades at this point, that they would have an ability to separate those two things. But you're right, the relationship is tighter now than it ever has been. The NFL has a vested interest, more so than ever, in ESPN's success. And there's definitely ways in which you could see that running afoul of journalistic integrity. But again, optimism, maybe I'm being too generous, but I'd like to think that ESPN can find a way to kind of avoid that influence.
That will be so interesting to watch. One of the other topics we wanted to ask you about, Eben, this Fox One deal and the bundle. Read somewhere that a bundle of Fox and ESPN programming for $40 a month people can get. What's this all about?
Yeah, I think this is so funny because for folks who've been trying to follow what the sports streaming changes are, about a year ago, Fox and ESPN and Turner announced Venue Sports. I don't know if you remember Venue. Mm-hmm. It didn't last very long, but they announced this thing, $43 a month. They were going to combine the streaming efforts of those three groups. Then it fell apart, right? There were some legal challenges. There were some concerns about its viability, et cetera. Now, 6 months after it fell apart, as you said, two of those three are coming back together, Fox and ESPN. The price point is basically the same. It's $40 instead of $43, but Turner's no longer involved. I think we are entering this phase where all of the DTC, the direct-to-consumer streaming packages, are now trying to pair up with each other in various forms. And the obvious joke here is that it's beginning to resemble cable in the way that, and cable fell apart, right? And everybody criticized it and thought a la carte was the future. And now it turns out that what maybe is the future is skinny versions of cable, right? Where you can create these sports bundles. There's a bunch of others obviously out there as well. I don't think we've seen the end of the bundling. So I know ESPN is talking to others about it. even this NFL deal we just talked about, that's also kind of a bundling, right? Because all these NFL assets are going to be available via the ESPN direct-to-consumer product as well. It just feels like what's old is new again, and there's jokes to be made, but it's totally true that in some ways we're kind of hurtling towards a future where once again you may be paying for two things that gets you this whole host of different options, not unlike the cable bundle that was so popular 10 years ago.
Well, I feel overwhelmed. I imagine all consumers do as well. Has anybody put pen to paper? Right. Has anybody tried to put pen to paper to see, okay, what I'm spending for all these different packages to follow the sports that I enjoy, how much this costs consumers?
We've talked about this having some kind of the vision we have is like one of those like cop boards with the photos and the string and you're connecting and taking circles and all that. And there's so much overlapping. I think the honest truth, Dalton, is that almost everybody is paying more than they probably were under the previous system, right? And we probably shouldn't be shocked by that these corporations were going to try to extract value in the new reality in addition to the old one. But yeah, I think that the sad truth is that not only are sports harder to find now, because if you're an NFL fan, let's use the NFL as an example, there's like 8 different places that you can watch games now. Right. It's the 4 main broadcasters. There's also Netflix games on Christmas. There's also Amazon games on Thursday nights. Oh, and there's these NFL Network games that are also going to be available via the ESPN app. And then there's this and that. And there's some playoff games that are one-offs. And there's the Peacock game as well. So you got to have Peacock for that game. There's so many different services that you need to have. It is challenging for some people. I put myself in this category to keep track of everything. Right. And not only keep track of it, but I don't buy all these things. Right. I think it's cost prohibitive for most people to have all of these subscriptions. So in some ways we have traded the very imperfect cable past for a future where there's just a lot more things to have. It's a lot more expensive, and there's time and effort that you have to do to remember, which game is on which service and at what time and figuring out your password and all that stuff. So unfortunately, maybe there is a future where this is easier than it is right now for sports consumers. But what I see is just a lot more overlap and a lot more confusion, at least in the short term.
Is there more of these sort of things coming down the pike?
Yeah, absolutely. Discovery is trying to figure out what it's doing with TNT Sports. Are there partnerships there? Fubo is launching its own skinny bundle coming up. YouTube TV basically has a digital version of cable, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them do something sports specific at some point. Again, the confusion about who has what is soon going to be replaced by what bundles have which, right? And I don't think it's crazy to think in a future a sports fan like you or I could end up paying for ESPN 3 times, kind of unaware, because we have the ESPN Fox bundle, and we also have the Fubo Sports bundle over here, and whoever Discovery pairs with, maybe it's over there as well. I think there's a lot of confusion out there. The confusion's not going to go away, but there's a race here to get the bundle that breaks through. And I think you're going to see companies like ESPN and Fox with Fox One spread itself out a little bit to make sure it's capturing as many of those different audience segments as possible.
As always, a great chat with Eben Novy-Williams of Sportico. Well, when we come back with more of the sports life, we're going to salute one of the greats of college basketball. It's all coming up in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender.
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, Em, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, if you are looking for the traditional path that will lead you to becoming a Hall of Fame college basketball official, today's cover story will not be much assistance. You see, Terry Wymer, who became one of the most celebrated college basketball officials of his era, when he left high school, he headed off to Findlay College in Findlay, Ohio, never giving a single thought to officiating of any kind of basketball. Now, during his time at Findlay, he played on the Oilers' 1979 National Championship football team, led her 3 times in baseball, and in combination of all of those things that earned him a spot in the Findlay Athletic Hall of Fame. By the way, he's also been inducted into the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, it was during this period of time at Findlay College he dabbled in some high school basketball coaching, something he did not think suited him, but the idea of officiating basketball sort of intrigued him. So with that, his journey was off and running.
I would say, I'm a hick from North Baltimore. Nobody ever expected me to do this. And I tell my officials when they're starting out, if you expect you're going to work the Final Four, or you expect, you put it out there, 1% of 1% of 1% makes the Final Four. I mean, it's just very difficult to do. You have to have a lot of luck. You have to stay healthy. One of the best driving forces for me was I went to a Mid-American summer retreat over in Indiana. It was a golf course over there. And you may remember this name, Will, Eric Harmon. He was the supervisor. So we took, all the staff went in there, and I rode with an individual. And I'll never forget this. He said to me, "What's your aspirations?" I said, I'd just like to have a full league schedule somewhere, maybe in the Big Ten. I'd like to find a home to grow and things like that. He said, that could happen. That could happen. And I said, maybe I'd like to work some championships of the MAC and the Mid-Con or Summit and Big Ten. He says, well, that's pretty hard. I said, the really goal would be to work the NCAA tournament, which I worked 20 straight years. I said, I'd really like to work. He said, well, that's going to be hard. And so jokingly, I said, I guess the ultimate goal would be to work a regional or a Final Four. He looked at me and said, I never did, and you never will. So I put that in my back pocket, and I've always thought about that. I always gained strength from this. Tell me I can't do something, I'll find a way to get it done.
And get it done, Terry Wymer did. Before he retired, he would work 35 seasons as a college basketball official, 22 straight NCAA tournaments, 11 regionals, 5 Final Fours, 3 national title games, and 6 Big Ten tournament title games.
But why do you want to do it? I think it's because you want to do what's right for the game of whatever sport you're officiating. And I want to do what was right for the game of basketball. And the camaraderie with other officials. I would tell you this, well, it gets to be pretty lonely when you're on the road, because the big joke was always, I'd go down to Miami and work. And like most places, if you're working a lot, you leave home about 4:30. I get to Detroit Airport. I get the first flight out because the first flight has to leave. Fly into Miami, check in. I go to bed, get up, clean up, have a late lunch, then meet the guys, do the game, and then same thing the next morning. You're up early. The joke was, hey, how was Miami Beach? Did you like Miami? I couldn't even find Miami Beach out of the University of Miami. I didn't know that, where it's at. But that was always the joke wherever you went. My last year, because I knew I was going to retire, I was going to be 63. All my peers had, most of my peers, all my friends had retired, majority of them. And it was just like, why am I still doing this? I've accomplished everything I can accomplish. Give newer guys an opportunity to fill your spot, build a game. So I can tell you, my last year of officiating, I was only home 18 days and 5 months. But you know what? Your family sacrifices for you. This is my 44th year of marriage. And without her, I couldn't have the family I have, or had the freedom to do what I wanted to do. And the competition was good too. Just trying to be the best. But to answer your question, why do you want to do it? I think basically because they love the game and they want to be part of the game. And do what's best for the game of basketball or football, whatever it may be.
Well, going in, if you're a college basketball official, at times you are not the most loved person on the court. Yet for Terry, it has been gratifying.
I've worked for some of the greatest coaches ever. I mean, and the biggest compliment you get was somebody see you on the road, hey, I feel good because I see you on the road. I know we're not going to get homered. Everybody thinks you're going to get homered, which it's a fallacy, but it's good to see you on the floor. But you got to understand where I come from. I come from a small farming community, right? And I've been very blessed with the opportunities. I've had dinner with Bill Murray, Morgan Freeman. I've met Morgan Freeman, John Grisham. I mean, you go right through all the people, President Bush, all the people that I've met. That doesn't happen for many people, let alone North Baltimore people, right? I've been to some of the best restaurants in the United States, stayed at some of the nicest hotels. That just doesn't happen to a normal person, so I'm very blessed. But those, and the people I just met along the way, even fans. I walk into arenas, I'll go to Maryland, that front row, 4 guys out there. They're just good people because I treated them respectfully. When they maybe yell at me, I went over and talked to them. They found out you're a human being, but that's what made it. And the coaches make a lot of it too. I mean, especially the coaches that have been around for a while. I don't want to get naming names, but some of the coaches have been around for a while. They just get it and they understand it, and it makes it. They know you're not trying to miss calls. They know you're not trying to screw them. They know you don't care who wins. You want to be the most objective and best official on national TV there is. And that I took great pride in that. Because, my last name, Wymer, my dad had 5 brothers. It was always important for me to make sure the Wymer name stood up strong, respectful, and that people could always look and say, hey, great family, great guy, great family man. And I always tell everybody, these young officials now, well, everybody wants to work in the Big Ten. It's tough to get to the Big Ten. It really is. And I always tell them you got to prioritize. You know, faith, family, your job, and basketball. Put it fourth. A lot of guys can't do that, so when they lose their job, they lose their family. They never did have faith. So it's just you gotta keep priorities. But the most fun things were the stories with these entertainers or other athletes. Cal Ripken, met him. The guys that own Under Armour at Maryland. Hey, Will, meeting you, man, that's something. Meeting the voices. Jason Benetti's with the Tigers now. He does games, does a great job also. So, but meeting a lot of talent, because the talent, what I'd say, that is fair. There's a couple guys, and you would know, that just aren't fair, the officials. And sometimes not even fair to the players either. But for the most majority, the media is pretty good people too, for the most of it. So, but just being around good people and doing what's right in your life, that's a big thing.
As we have mentioned, Terry Wymer has worked 3 NCAA tournament national title games. In moments like this, the spotlight shines bright on everybody. Players, coaches, and yes, even officials.
Well, it's interesting because you got to put you got to have the right mindset. And what I tell people is there's nothing that can happen in that game that you haven't seen all year. Because, you worked 70 to 90 games. You've seen everything possible. Enjoy the moment. That's what I tell the guys, especially when they're going the first time. That's what was important for me, is to just enjoy the moment.
When it comes to athletics, there is performance, and also there is family.
Quick story we'll share with you. I have son Luke, son Eric, and my daughter Rachel, who's just going to turn 30. I always try to make all their sporting events. Luke played basketball, and in 4 years that he played varsity, I only missed 7 games. I can remember one day I was in Wisconsin for a noon tip, which they're an hour behind Central, and I made it back to it's a 6-hour drive. I made it back at halftime with a varsity game to watch them, and my wife wasn't real happy that I would speed possibly to get home. But my other son, he's a head track coach or cross country coach, assistant track coach at University of Findlay here, where I graduated from. But my daughter was a pretty good little soccer player and basketball player, but their basketball team was really bad. So my wife called me one night and said, "Hey, I got to tell you a conversation with Rachel." I said, "What's that? Everything okay?" "Oh, everything's great." But she said, "Dad really doesn't have to come watch me play because we're so bad." So, well, Dad wants to be there, support. It's important for him to get there with all you kids. And he said, "Yeah." He says, "Let me ask you a question. How many games is Dad working?" And I gave him a number. Usually I work between 70 and 80. He says, "Well, how much do you average a game?" Gave him a number. He says, "My recommendation would be tell him to pick up more games so we can vacation more."
Terry Wymer is currently the executive director of the Collegiate Officiating Consortium and coordinator of officiating for the Big Ten Conference, a position he accepted in 2023. The consortium consists of, along with the Big Ten, the Mid-American Conference, the Horizon League, and the Summit League. Not the easiest of assignments.
The first year I took this over, in the first 3 years I let 75 officials go in our consortium. But it consists of the Big Ten, Mountain West, MAC, Summit, Horizon. Officials don't know when to say it's time. They're either two ways. They go on their own, like I was intending to do before this job came my way, or you're going to be asked for a succession plan. What's going to happen? And then when you tell them this will be their last year, then they leave and they're all bitter. They don't look at all the success they've had for 20 or 25 years. That's a tough call. That's a tough call because You know, they always say it's lonely at the top. I'd say officiating is a heck of a lot easier than this because I had to worry about one person. That was me. I could handle the coaches, so on and so forth, break down my video, and then make adjustments for the next game. Now I've got 140 on staff, which trying to get them all on the same page, it can be difficult. So we train a lot. It's you know, it's not an easy job by any means, but if it was easy, everybody would be in consideration. But you know, I brought some new faces in, which was very good, very helpful. I think they're well respected. Had to get rid of some people that was even working the Final Four that just didn't fit our model, so to speak. Because I always say this, you got to be a good locker room person, treat everybody with respect, and you got to be a good play caller. Now you got good play callers out there, but they're bad in the locker room, and if you can't get along with your partners, that's long. That's a long night.
For Terry Wymer, it has been a heck of a journey, one that is still underway, and a journey he never saw coming.
No, if you foresee this in a crystal ball, you're amazing. I would tell you this: God has a plan for everybody, Will, and I just took advantage of that plan and an opportunities. You can't progress unless you get opportunities, and I was blessed with guys that believed in me and gave me opportunities. But to foresee this, no. To dream it, yeah, but to actually have it come to fruition, but to foresee it, no. Been very, very blessed, very lucky.
The thoughts of Terry Wymer, one of the good guys. Back with more of the Sports Life in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
You hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up, ignore them, Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. And don't forget, Auto Owners Insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners make sense for you. Football in Northwestern. For the longest time, it was not very good. It was so bad, people were wondering why Northwestern was even in the Big Ten. Imagine this, 23 straight losing seasons. In that span of time, 4 of those were over seasons, and 3 of them, the Wildcats won only 1 game. Then in 1992, Gary Barnett, who was offensive coordinator at Colorado, coming off a national championship season, was named the new Wildcat coach. He said things would be good, but they didn't start so good. He went 3-8, 2-9, then 3-7-1. Same old Wildcats, until you got to 1995. In 1995, Northwestern went 10-2, 8-0 in the Big Ten, won the Big Ten championship, and to the shock of everybody, went to the Rose Bowl, Dalton.
Unbelievable what Northwestern was able to do in 1995. I mean, you laid out the history. Well, 1995 starts on a pretty impressive note. They knock off number 9 Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Let's take a listen back in 1995, what opening weekend sounded like for Wildcat football.
And a monumental upset in the making here at Notre Dame Stadium. Northwestern does not have to run a play.
Notre Dame has no more timeouts?
That's right. Northwestern does not have to run a play. And Gary Barnett has pulled off a monumental upset here. His Northwestern Wildcats have upset Notre Dame 17-15.
I've seen this thing so many times in the last 3 weeks that it just feels normal. I mean, our whole team has seen this over and over and over. I expected it to happen. It's just got to send a message to everybody that our kids can play with anybody, and I think we just did.
And they just did. Think about that, Dalton. They open up 95, knocking off the Irish on the road. The 3 previous years, they had only won 8 games total. So this is a good start, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty good way to start steering the ship in the opposite direction. They knock off the Irish opening week, and then from there, maybe the biggest head-scratcher of all, when you look back at that 1995 season, the very next week, they dropped to Miami of Ohio. When they just were in the top 25, they came in at number 25, but they lost to Miami of Ohio 30-28. But as it would stand to reason, the rest of the season, that was the only loss for the regular season for the Northwestern Wildcats. A few weeks later, they'd be tested again at the Big House, taking on number 7 Michigan, and yet again, Northwestern would pull it off, knocking off the Wolverines 19-13. Here's what it sounded like, and also head coach Gary Barnett afterwards once more.
Last chance for Michigan, 4th and 15. They're going to bring it again. Greasy, hit as he throws. It is intercepted by Bennett. And Northwestern with 1:31 left. About set to do something they have been unable to do since a Cadillac had fins. 1959, the last time Northwestern has beaten Michigan at Ann Arbor.
Well, I wore my lucky shoes, and that's a heck of a way to get to 4-1, isn't it? But our kids all week they just practiced like I thought we were going to win the game, and we came in here to win it. And what an effort by our defense and our secondary to play those receivers the way that they did. I mean, I'm just so proud of those players. We've got a pretty good football team, and as long as we play together and play hard, play every down like we just did, then we're going to be in a lot of games.
And Gary Barnett was in a lot of games that year. I've never heard that reference. Haven't beat Michigan since there was fins on a Cadillac.
I don't know if that's better or Gary Barnett saying he wore his lucky shoes.
I keep wearing them, buddy.
Well, he must have done something right because Northwestern didn't stop there. A few weeks later, they would host number 12 Penn State. And yet again, Northwestern just keeps his magic carpet ride afloat. They knock off the Nittany Lions 21-10. And here's what head coach Gary Barnett had to say after the win over Penn State.
Well, they just keep getting bigger every week. It seems that way. And every game is so big now. And our kids just keep reacting to them. And they've never been in this position before, but they still keep handling them. We're a lot more physical than most people know. And we're getting better every week. And I don't care who you are. Every week you got to go back and prove it.
And they proved it week after week after week that year in the Big Ten in 1995. What a run.
Yeah, it's simply amazing, and it's one of the most magical seasons, I mean, when you talk about Big Ten football lore, that people nostalgically reflect back on. And, of course, it ends up with them going to the Rose Bowl. How about Northwestern making it to Pasadena, California? They ended up losing in the game to USC, but that doesn't stop the aroma of flowers for the Northwestern Wildcats as they think back on it. And to finish the regular season, Northwestern was ranked 5th in the country. They had to travel to West Lafayette, Indiana. They knocked off the Purdue Boilermakers 23-8. But here's some comments from head coach Gary Barnett when the dream became reality, that Northwestern was going to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, 10-1. Wow, who would have thought? But they just played hard and with so much poise. To do what they've done every week. After never being in the situation after our third win. We've never been in that situation before, and they just handle it week in and week out.
And it's amazing. Think about this. They win the Big Ten championship in 1995, outright 8-0. Mm-hmm. That was their first conference title since 1936.
Before World War II.
Yeah, I never looked at it that way, but you're right. And then the other thing is they next season in 96 would be co-champs.
Yeah.
So they put together a couple of seasons there that were really special. And the one thing Gary Barnett said after they lost to the Rose Bowl that you mentioned, he said the only mistake we made was we were so excited about going to the Rose Bowl, we never thought about winning the Rose Bowl.
And who can blame them? How could you not be excited given that context and the season that they pulled off? What an incredible year it was, and how awesome to celebrate 30 years of that 1995 Northwestern team.
And it was something. It was something worth celebrating. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, our parting shots in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask.
Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-298-9093. 800-298-9093. 800-298-9093. That's 800-298-9093.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope. Furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family.
Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player. No matter the challenges I face every day in the NFL, my mom is always there for me, despite her own struggles with muscular dystrophy. And MDA is there for my mom. At their 150 care centers across the U.S., MDA is the leading organization in research and care for kids and adults with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and related neuromuscular diseases. Join me and learn more at helpmda.org today. Thank you.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Live. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. Fun show we've had this week. We saluted the Wildcat football team of 1995 and their great run. What a nice profile piece with Terry Wymer. And Eben Novy-Williams from Sportico. Interesting take on some of the craziness going on in the sports media. So with that, Dalton, it is now time for our parting shots.
Yeah, and by the way, if you missed any of that or you just want to hear it again, make sure you give us a follow at Sports Life Now on Twitter or X. It's again at Sports Life Now. We'll have everything uploaded and posted there on our page. For my parting shot, I wanted to take a look at, because I was reading articles of Big Ten topics, one that came through from the Sporting News was a headline: this Big Ten basketball program has 0 true road games in 2025-2026. Of course, they're talking about the non-conference schedule, but I dove in, I took a look at this to see which team it was and how was this possible. So, this team is Illinois, and what the Illini have for a lineup is Jackson State at home, Florida Gulf Coast at home, Texas Tech at home, Colgate at home, and then they play Alabama from United Center in Chicago. They play Long Island at home. Skipping ahead, they move to Madison Square Garden to take on UConn. They take on Tennessee in Nashville. They play Missouri for the bragging rights in St. Louis. And then they finish their non-conference with Southern there at home. So even though it says there are no true road games, when you put up a lineup of Alabama, UConn, I mean, this is not necessarily a cupcake schedule that Brad Underwood and the Illini have put together. They're going to be tested. It just won't be on another team's host site.
Well, scheduling college basketball is always intriguing, to say the least. Well, I'm going to have a little fun with EA Sports. You ready?
All right.
Well, they did 25 simulations of what would be the 12 playoff teams and who would win. So here's what they came up with. You ready?
Uh-huh.
From the Big Ten, a 5 seed was Indiana, a 6 seed was Nebraska, 10 Washington, and the 2 seed was Penn State. Ohio State, Oregon, both top 10 preseason picks, they don't make it.
Wow.
So, get this. In the final game, you ready?
Uh-huh.
It is Texas Tech and Nebraska.
How wild would that be?
That'd be crazy.
What do they know at EA Sports? They're on to something.
Well, if Nebraska gets in the title game, I'll take all this back for making fun a little bit of them. By the way, if you're curious, when Texas Tech and Nebraska played for the title, Texas Tech won.
Thought maybe the Big Ten would have a three-peat.
Well, you never know. Maybe they need a 26 simulation. Well, as always, we appreciate everybody joining the show this week. And we should also note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to check us out and hit subscribe. As always, thanks to the Big Ten Network. The Sports Live is produced by Dalton Shetler. Our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton Shetler, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.